Let's get some prize picks in today, guys. Last night's picks went 3-3, so 50-50 in the slip. Brandon Miller and Miles Bridges did not cash. They did go in the same direction, just not in the direction that I wanted them to go. Clint and DeJounte did hit together, and this was a bit of a sweat, honestly. I think they did both had 5 assists and 11 points, like going into the fourth, not end up panning through. Then Suggs and Wagner went opposite direction. Wagner cashed, but so did Suggs cashes over. So 3-3 day. Tonight I have another 3 stacks, and 2 of them I recommend going in the direction I say in this video, but the other one, you might want to go opposite of it. Maybe go with the overs instead of the unders, as you'll see as I go out throughout this video. 2 of these picks are going to actually be from the popular tab. This little tab they added here to fool everyone with the past 5 games and everything. It's pretty cool here. So Tyrese Maxey is going to be the first pick, and this I'm actually going to go with the over. I know everyone's grabbing him because Embiid is out. Dropped 51 points last game. I'm going to go with the over, but not because of that. I'm going to get into the analysis a little bit. And Kevin Huerter's another pick that I'm going to go with, but it's going to be a little later in the video. So Tyrese Maxey, I'm also going to pair this up with Kelly Oubre. And if you check last game, he did go under this prop at 16. I believe his prop was at 18.5 last game. Whatever, you could see that Kelly Oubre went the opposite direction of Tyrese Maxey, which makes sense. Obviously, if Maxey's dropping 50 points, it's very unlikely that Oubre is also going to be getting a lot of points too, because Maxey's going to be carrying the team and carrying the ball a lot. So I'm going to go Tyrese Maxey again tonight on the over 30.5 points. Kelly Oubre on the under 17.5 points. Let's take a look at the value on both these guys. And I'm loving it, honestly, because Kelly Oubre is juiced towards the under. You can see a couple books here have him set at 16.5 with juice towards the over. But the ones that do have him at 17.5, which is 2 books already, FanDuel has him at -122, juice towards the under. Obviously, his game logs are going to be terrible because his line is way higher than when it normally is because of Embiid being out. But even if you check his game logs without Embiid, which was 9 games, he's only cleared us 4 out of 9 times. And he did get these 24 points, 25, 25, 25 a couple of times. But one thing about Kelly Oubre, as we all know, is he is extremely inconsistent. He could drop 4 points one game and then 25 the next, which is going to be natural with Kelly Oubre. So that's kind of why I prefer Kelly Oubre going on the under and Tyrese Maxey going over. You might want to inverse that if you're feeling Kelly Oubre is going to have a good game. But Oubre under 17.5 points is juiced towards the under, while Tyrese Maxey over 30.5 is juiced towards the over. Some sportsbooks even offset it at 31.5 already. Wouldn't be surprised if this gets bumped to 31. Same scenario as Kelly Oubre. He's only cleared this 26% of the time this season. Of course, because Embiid is in the lineup for like almost all these games. Take out Embiid, he's still only cleared this 4 out of 10 times. But again, we also saw what he's capable of in this most recent game versus the Jazz. And generally, Maxey is way more consistent than Oubre when it comes to, hitting his point totals. All these graphs are kind of similar in where they are compared to Oubre, where his graphs are kind of all over the place. Look at this, like 3.17. But then if you go to Maxey, it's pretty much consistent. Obviously, he has these little terrible games there, but in general he's going to be a way more reliable player to go over his points prop. Also, the game state is pretty good tonight. I mean, they are playing at home versus the Brooklyn Nets. -3.5 spread and decent total, 232.5. Nothing crazy, nothing too high, but nothing too low. Just 232.5 total leaves opportunity for Maxey to get his points, and also it's still low enough so that's not a complete shootout where everyone on the Sixers is getting their points totals over. So of course the Nets are 16th in points allowed, but if you look into it a little bit further positionally versus the point guard where Maxey is playing, they're the 6th worst team against the point guard position, allowing 26.47 points on average. I'm not going to act like they're not bad versus the small forwards too, where they're 5th in points allowed. But like I said, I don't think both of them are going to go over this prop, and Maxey is the one that's way more favored to go over his prop than Kelly Oubre at that 17.5. So that is the first stack I'm going with. Maxey over points, Kelly Oubre under points. Now this next one, I'm not going to get into too much detail because I went over it like pretty recently. It did hit the last time we took it. So I'm going to take it again. It's going to be Giannis on the under points with Brook Lopez on the over 13.5 points. Brook Lopez has been playing very well recently. You could see, I mean, he's been clearing this in the past 3 games, 24 points, 19-19. And Giannis is kind of the opposite right now. If we check his game logs very quickly, you could see all the games that Brook Lopez went over his 12.5 points or even 13.5 points. You could see that Giannis also went under. He's been trailing a bit low in these recent games in terms of average, only averaging 28.6 points in the past 5 compared to Brook Lopez, who's actually cleared the 13.5, even when his lines would say like 11.5, 12.5. He's been clearing this pretty well recently. So the relationship here is normally when Giannis is going under his points, Brook Lopez, Malik Beasley, players like this, players around him, or even Lillard are more likely to go over the points props. So if I think Giannis is going to go under, my best pairing with that is Brook Lopez over rather than the other players in the starting lineup. Now the last one I'm going to go with is this popular pick right here. Kevin Huerter, everyone is on this over. I already know everyone watching this is going to be on his over. He has probably cleared this in the past 5 out of 5 because I'm sure this line right here was probably set at 11.5 at the time. For his juice, I mean, even the sports books are a bit conflicted on this. You got one set him at 11.5, 2 set him at 12.5 with juice towards the under, and then 1 at 13.5 with juice towards the under. Definitely, if you're on FanDuel, I'd probably take this pick at 13.5. I think that's a good bet here at minus 130. If you're on BetMGM, definitely take the over at 11.5 at minus 110. Also good value. The general consensus is juice on that under 12.5. I also did check Pinnacle, where his juice is towards that under 12.5, minus 120, minus 110, like we see on all these other sports books. So I think the consensus is with his juice on the under 12.5, which is what I'm going with. I know a lot of people are going to be on this over, but I'm going with the under. Like I said, you could flip this around, and to pair him up, I'm going to go with Sabonis's 8 assists. I also went with his under. So on Sabonis's 8 assists, a lot of sportsbooks have him at 7.5. We're getting him at 8. But FanDuel does have him at 8.5. They're the only one that's sort of an outlier here. But also check Pinnacle on this one too. So Sabonis has him at 7.5 assists with slight juice towards the over. So again, this is another play that I think the under is the correct play in terms of the juice, in terms of the odds. So I'm going under on both of these guys. Like I said, if you're feeling the overs, grab the overs. I do think these guys are going to hit together in the same direction. That's kind of the idea I'm going with. So that is the picks for today. Pretty sure Oubre and Maxey just got ripped off the board. So yeah, they did just get ripped off the board. I'm assuming they'll be back. Probably something happened and they're maybe adjusting the lines. I like them at 30.5 and 17.5. Hopefully they didn't get bumped from there. But that is kind of what the picks are for today. Unders on Sacramento, over on Brook Lopez, under on Giannis, then over Maxey 30.5, under Oubre 17.5.